Okay. Looks like we're ready. Let's do it. All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the show with your host with the most, Andrew Elias. We're back. We're back at it again. We're going to be talking about something super exciting today. A lot to do with social media, a lot to do with marketing, a lot to do with how you are going to reach your customers. Let me turn this off right here. So, as you all know, my name is Andrew. I am the founder, director, creator, and producer of the show, the single man band, the hardest working man in show business. It's your boy, Drew Elias from Ask Drew, where you can ask me all your pressing questions about just about anything you want to know about how the internet works. How to become successful, how to get your Instagram to have well over 20,000 followers, and a whole lot more incredible things like utilizing the tools that you already have. So let's get right into it. The biggest question that I always get asked on Let's Ask Drew is, drum roll please, why should I listen to you? That is an excellent question. I'm going to tell you in a few short paragraphs because I'm going to talk about myself for a little bit, and then we're going to get into an example of what to do, what not to do with regards to your social media. So like I mentioned, my name is Andrew. I have been a brand developer for well over 15 years. I've been a computer programmer for 10 of those years. I am the founder and owner of Trome Travel, which is a global eSIM company based out of Colombia, where we have developers, we've got programmers working. We have been delivering amazing results to people traveling all over the world, making sure that you stay connected whenever you're traveling overseas or abroad. Now, with regards to that, I'll start it over. Okay, we're going to start over the show. Penis butt. Okay. All right, give me a second here. Make 400 fast. Okay, let me see. Hold on, guys. Hold on a second. You fuck. Okay. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Let's Ask Drew, where you get to ask me all your most pressing questions about how to get your Twitch to start streaming live to millions of people, how to set up your streaming software, how to get the most out of your business Instagram so that you can have the most impact among your audience, among your people, how do you sell your products online, how to get a Shopify store to sell well over $50,000 a month. These are all the kinds of questions that we're going to be getting into, along with a whole variety of great questions from you guys that we cover live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Andrew, and I am the founder of Trome Travel, which is a global eSIM company delivering eSIMs to travelers all over the world, everywhere from Europe to Asia to South America. People use our product. They love our product. It is a tremendous company. We started it 3 years ago. We have been growing at a massive pace. And the reason that we've been growing is because we understand what the difference is between the right kind of branding and the right kind of marketing and the wrong kind of marketing. The kind of marketing that only seems to make the marketer or the PR agent or the advertisers rich, but it doesn't seem to make you rich. You can't get the return on investment that you expected. And so I see a lot of businesses with this kind of problem. A lot of businesses come to me and ask me this question. They ask me, you know, how is it that some companies are able to get millions of followers, millions of likes, incredible engagement on their TikToks, on their Instagrams? Why is that happening? What are we doing wrong? Do we need to spend more money? Chances are absolutely not. You need to cut off your marketer, your advertiser, and start fresh with a strategy that I'm going to give you for free by the end of this video. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends, ring my bell, make sure you do all that good stuff, because we're going to be getting into some really, really amazing things. I'm getting a lot of questions from several business owners who watch the show, Ask Drew, live on Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I wanna stay focused here because this is actually a very, very important topic that I want to cover today. The topic of spending money on Instagram, spending money on marketing, right? A lot of people fail to differentiate between marketing, sales, and branding. Those are three separate concepts, right? And with regards to your what you would consider branding, most of it falls under the guise of essentially marketing, and it's not even good marketing, right? And so you think that you're placing your brand out there, you're placing it in the you know, the sphere, you're connecting with your audiences, you're telling people what you're about, but the problem with it is that it's not hitting where you want it to hit. It's not going viral. It's not giving you the kind of results that you were hoping to get. And so what ends up happening there is when you start to miss when you start to miss a lot of your subscribers, you start to miss a lot of the people that you are marketing to and that are checking out your channel and that are excited, they are following you. And some of them, a lot of them, I would even say, are liking your posts, but you're not getting any kind of further feedback beyond that. They're not visiting your store. They're not buying from you, which is the whole point of why you started advertising in the first place and why you started marketing, right? And so what I see a lot of businesses do in this particular space, and I'm going to get into it in a second, is they tend to believe that throwing money at this problem solves the problem. And that is the wrong approach. That is the wrong approach. You do not throw a bunch of your money right into Meta, right into YouTube, start advertising, right into Google, paying people who give you all these promises and tell you that they're going to solve all your problems. But you just end up with another problem, which is that most of your cash flow is going towards marketing that isn't returning the kind of results that you need. And so the best way to be able to resolve something like this is to focus more on the branding. You got to focus more on how your customer perceives you. How is it that somebody looks at your company and what sort of emotions do they get out of it, right? How many times do they think about your business? If you think about advertising, and you don't have to believe me on this, just consult your own memory, right? So if I ask you right now, I want you to remember, there was a study done, I believe it was either Harvard or one of these big schools, and it said something along the lines of that if you were to think about your life, on a day-to-day basis, you are exposed to, don't quote me on this, I believe it's about 1,000 different marketing messages. So 1,000 different advertisements, 1,000 different product placements. That's on a day-to-day basis, right? Now, let me ask you this. I want you right now, as you're watching this, I want you to if you want, close your eyes or look away from the screen, and however you get into your memory, maybe some people like to look up. I want you to try and remember 5. Just 5 different ads, 5 different product placements that you were exposed to yesterday. And what I can guarantee, and what I believe this study found, and again, don't quote me on this, I'll have to double check, but I believe that most of you, 98% of you, will not be able to even name one. And so when you think about that, when you think about the math behind that, when you think about how much money went into that, those are thousands of product placements, thousands of advertising dollars spent on each of those 1,000 different marketing messages that you got, spending, anywhere from hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars even, for you to forget all about them. Day by day by day by day. But the things that you don't forget about are the things that you've seen other people do. You've ingrained them into your habit, right? Companies like Amazon, companies like Facebook, your Instagram, your TikTok. You might have a preference. Some people say, I don't really use Instagram. Some people say, I don't use TikTok. Some people say, I don't use Snapchat, right? It all depends on your habits. It depends on the way that company has been able to connect with you. In the same way that some people were able to find a stronger connection with, we live in Canada here, so a lot of people like Tim Hortons coffee, but some people don't drink Tim Hortons coffee because Tim Hortons was not able to connect with them. And so they would much rather go and buy Starbucks coffee, which I personally, I can't stand the stuff, but they haven't connected with me. I'm not their target market, right? And so when you decide to create your product and when you decide to put it out there, the way that your customer perceives your product, the way they feel about your product, the way they know, not believe, know your product, the way they embody it, that's your brand. That is what you have to focus on. Now you might be asking, well, how do I know this, right? Like how do I know about branding? How do I know what is my expertise? Why should you even be listening to me, right? I'm here talking about all these different brands, Starbucks, Tim Hortons. Well, I'm going to tell you about a specific story. I'm going to tell you about a story in my life. I'm going to omit several details here just for the sake of confidentiality. I do have agreements with this company. This is a very famous company out in Singapore. And this company was delivering packages to people, and they were essentially trying to be the next Amazon, but specifically an Amazon for Indonesia. And when they decided to launch, within years, they were already Indonesia's biggest marketplace for delivering things, for having vendors, having sellers on their platform. A lot of people really, really believed in this platform. And they also had a tremendous amount of competition, by the way. There was quite a bit of market saturation, right? But they were unable to set themselves apart, and they constantly felt like they were competing, which I believe a lot of businesses are. They're in that competition mode. They felt like they were constantly in that state of having to advertise more, having to spend more than the next guy, having to, look at what is this other person doing? Okay, let me take that and I'm going to tweak it a little bit, and then I'm going to throw it on mine, and I'm going to pay my advertiser, 3 times as much as I was paying them before. And then, your advertiser comes over to you and says, the click-through rate is 0.01%, so that means that for every 1,000 people you market to, your click-through rate is 1 person, right? And then maybe it costs you $10 to market to 1 person. So in order to do that, you have to market to, like I said, 1,000 people to get 1 person. That means your cost per 1 person clicking through to your website is about $10,000. And these companies were spending just that much on a weekly basis. And I know companies that are spending way more that they don't even have to do. It's not getting you anywhere. Take the hint. Cut it off. Acabou, as they say in Brazil. Cut it off. Stop paying for advertising. And that was exactly what my message was. And it was a controversial one because I was essentially saying that a department in this company needs to have their funding cut because they were also getting a percentage of the advertising fee. And they weren't too happy about that. But neither am I. I'm not too happy about companies being drained. you know? And I don't have anything against them. You know, I love what advertisers do. I believe it's a legitimate enterprise. I do believe that there's a lot of creativity and a lot of amazing things. I'm just checking the time here because I got to be careful with the time. There's a lot of amazing things that go in advertising, but it's not for most companies, right? And so what I said with this company is that what you guys are doing is very clear when I look at all your different campaigns here, all your different advertisements, all the different messaging that we're hearing back from your customers, is that most of your customers live in rural areas. And you're trying to appeal to them as if you were another Amazon, but those people that live in those rural areas do not use Amazon. So you're trying to copy what the big guys are doing, but the big guys aren't even there. They're not even being used in these areas. And you have all these little pots of different rural areas all over the place where this person doesn't use Amazon, this person doesn't use Amazon. What do they use? They use local suppliers. They use local vendors. So the problem here is not so much about throwing money into advertising. The problem becomes we are acting exactly like Amazon. That's what these local people perceive us as. So we got to change that. And so what I suggested is essentially, if you guys are trying to speak like Amazon, but your audience wants someone who sounds like a trusted neighborhood shopkeeper, then you need to sound like a trusted neighborhood shopkeeper. Change it up, right? And this is true for many places. This is true for a lot of different countries. A lot of countries prefer that feeling of face-to-face, building rapport with somebody. There's that kind of trust that you have with someone that is local, that you're working with, you know? And that was my suggestion to them. And not only that, we actually went on and started changing the messaging in all the advertising, changing the messaging on the website, and targeting people where they live, targeting them at home, where it matters, right? What ended up happening? I'm going to read the results here. There was a 38% uplift on their click-through rate on their rural targeted paid ads within 2 months. So same ad spend, right? We're not spending more, but we're getting a higher click-through rate. 38% higher. Before that, it was roughly around 2 to 4. Right? So out of all these people that you're marketing to, you have this big pot that you're sending out all these ads, you know? Before you were getting this much of the pot. Now you're getting this much of the pot. That's how many people. You're getting this many people to click through, and this many are just either they're not interested or it's not in it for them right then and there. But this is a big chunk of the population right here, 38%. The second thing was that seller onboarding went up by at least 25% in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. I'm not going to explain that too much, but we had a tremendous amount of people who started using this, onboarding themselves as sellers. And as a seller went on the platform, they let every single person know in the neighborhood that they lived in, hey, I'm selling my stuff online. So you're not buying from Amazon. You see what I'm saying? You're buying from Joe down the street. That's how it changed. That's the kind of thing that went viral super fast. And when they did that, they no longer had to compete anymore, ever again. They didn't have to look at what Amazon is doing. They didn't have to look at what their competitors are doing. All they had to do was create. And everything was beautiful from them. From then. So I didn't just optimize their ads. I helped them rediscover how to speak to their country, to their people, their customers. And that's what you need. Right? And I've noticed this in a variety of different situations, right? I personally grew up in Sudan. I've been here in Canada for about 15 years. I speak Arabic and I've taught myself how to speak Spanish. I'm also a self-taught computer programmer. When I was in Sudan, I was working as a brand ambassador for a company called Dow, and Dow had a new product called Zadna, which was a flour-based product that they were putting out there into the market. And their research, Sudan is we don't have the kind of insights, we don't have the kind of advertising that is available online, through things like Facebook and Google. It's very hard to get insights about consumers, especially because we don't use credit cards. So we're not using credit cards, we're not using debit cards. It's very, very difficult to be able to predict consumer behavior. So a lot of it has to be done based on rapport, based on sales. And the very first rule of sales is sell things to people that they actually need. And the best way to know that is to know people, know what they're about, know what it is that they're looking for, and everything will be golden. And so what we did was, as we started to go out, we started to realize that trying to sell this flour to customers, instead of having this conversation in the boardroom, go have it out on the street among your customers and go and try and sell it. And when they would go and they would try to sell this new wheat product, majority of the customers, which were women, didn't understand what the product even was for, or what they should even use with the product, right? Like, how do you make it? What do I do with this? I mean, I've used flour before, but I don't know about this. This is, it's a little bit different. It's a nice package. They liked it, obviously, and I was there for all of this. But they didn't know. So the problem became, it's not about marketing. It's not about putting posters. It's not about putting it in shops and telling the shops, hey, sell. Just push this on the people. No. The problem was education. You had to educate your customers on how to use your product. So that was the first thing, was holding these workshops, these cooking workshops, teaching these women how to use this new product. The second thing was to make it, essentially market it or advertise it, was to add an entertainment factor. And the entertainment factor to it was, there was a big festival that was being held in one of the biggest soccer stadiums in Khartoum City in Sudan. This product was promoted, we had amazing fireworks. It was an incredible event. And then the product itself was the flour bags were painted with all these beautiful patterns and these beautiful colors so that they stood out, right? And people, when someone came over to your house, you liked seeing this flour bag. People felt proud to have this flour bag that was all these different colors. It looked different than the standard flour bag, which was just like a white paper bag, And so you see white paper bag, maybe gray, green, and then here's all these patterns and all these beautiful colors, right? Maybe I can even pull up what it looks like. So this is Zadna flour. Yeah, so you could see here you had, yellow bags, you had all these beautiful patterns on it. You had the green bag with all the beautiful patterns, and then, all the other ones. Their bags were pretty much, they kind of looked like this. It was just like a blue bag, or it was like a white bag, or maybe even something like this, where it was like orange, and then it just had the little thing there. But the Zadna packs, they had these beautiful patterns on them that stood out right away, and you had all this beautiful, these extra patterns on there. The beautiful green color, it was really stood out, right? And they had all these like special editions, for Ramadan and all the different festivals. So the beauty of this was, like I said, they educated people how to use the product. They were entertaining in the sense that they held a really, really big, beautiful event, celebrating this thing, letting people know, making the bags look festive. And then the third thing, and this is an important thing for social media, was empathy. They emphasized, and this kind of goes back to the first step, but it also goes to the last step, because you have to start with empathy. You have to leave your boardroom, in your office, go into your restaurant or go into your shop and just interact with your customers or watch them, right? Have a look at them. Look at them. What do they look like? How do they feel? Ask them what they use your products for. A lot of the greatest products that have ever become famous throughout the world have become famous purely through accident. When people realized that these products were being used for something that it wasn't intended for. Case in point, Arm & Hammer baking soda. Arm & Hammer baking soda is primarily being used by people in like baking. That's what all the marketers said. That's what all the advertisers said. They said, okay, this is, we know we're going to use this for marketing. And then one day, one of the I believe it was an advertiser or a PR person, and they went out and spoke with some of their consumers, or I think it was his relative. I don't know the exact story, but they saw an Arm & Hammer baking soda that was open inside of the fridge. And I'm sure some of you have seen this before. It's this orange brand, this Arm & Hammer baking soda thing right here. Some of you have probably seen this. You've probably seen it, for it's used for baking, used for cleaning, but it's just sitting there with the little thing there open. And so he noticed that not only in one house, but a couple. And he asked, simple question, why are you guys, what do you use Arm & Hammer for? And everybody started saying that when I would put Arm & Hammer in my fridge, it would suck out all the odors. And so right then and there, he saw that there was a different use than what was intended for the product. And the more they investigated this, which again, this is not what the company intended, when they decided to emphasize and look at their customers and what they were using Arm & Hammer baking soda for, they saw that the majority were using it to get rid of odors. And that's why the new packs of Arm & Hammer baking soda says removes odors. They put it into their marketing. It's a single line that you change on the box, not a $1 billion ad in the New York Times, or $1 million ad, whatever, in the New York Times, right? Or on Times Square. You don't have to do that. If you understand your market, if you understand your customers, there's these little tweaks that you can make in your packaging or your messaging or your website that'll help get the message across to your customers, right? And so I could take just about any business right now, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to look into a business that is very popular here in Canada, particularly in the Kitchener, Waterloo area where there's a lot of students. So I'm going to look for Osmow's. Look at that. Osmow's Super Bowl came up. Let me just go to Osmow's. So Osmow's is a shawarma shop, and they make a pretty mean shawarma, if I do say so myself. Now, a lot of this messaging has changed recently. A lot of their logos, a lot of their this is a pretty brand new website, or maybe it's not. I just haven't seen it in a long time, but I guarantee you this is pretty recent. I would say this website was updated sometime in this year, before, like after January. So I'm just gonna go ahead and accept. So let's just have a look here. So we got Osmow's home, about, menu, franchising, right? And then as we go through, we see all this amazing stuff. Modern Mediterranean cuisine. They have a video. Let's watch this together. Okay, so I stopped because I've seen this video before. I just didn't recognize the thumbnail. I want you guys to pay attention to what's happening here, and just watch the video with me, and let's go over this together, okay? All right, let me just turn on the sound so you guys can hear.
Wait, you've never tried Osmow's?
What's the big deal?
Hey, oh, hey, oh. Wait, it looks like the village people.
What are you so happy about?
There we go. Look at that. Isn't that the loveliest video you've ever seen? With everybody dancing. I want to go back here for a second because there's a lot going on here. So basic gist of it, this guy tries Osmow's shawarma for the first time. He busts out dancing. This is like a really well produced video, right? You see him crossing over here, this lovely lady waving at the window. They got all these awesome cars, old school cars. I freaking love muscle cars from back in the day, man. So he's dancing, everybody's happy. Really nice, diverse group of people. It's pretty representative of Canada. You got just about everybody here, including someone in a hard hat. It looks like a Village People song. What was that? YMCA. It looks like that. And then, you got this guy. It's like, what are you guys so happy about, huh? And they give him the shawarma. So Osmo's look at everybody's like, wow. And he bites into it. And this is the face. This is apparently the face you make when you bite into chicken shawarma for the first time, which if you know anything about chicken shawarma, nobody has ever made that face. But listen, man, I grew up eating shawarma. That's why I can say it. So let's move forward here. So you got all the dancing. And it's not Arab dancing either. It's just Village People dancing. Okay. So it says Osmos. Download the Osmos app today. Now, I want to talk about this just for a brief second before we move on to the actual commercial, okay? So I want to talk about this specific app idea. Now, download the Osmos app today. So if you go on Osmos, I'm sure they have an app for the phone, but I'm just going to check out their order online because it's got to be the same thing. So if I click order online, and one of the things that pops up is, the closest store, which is Osmos at Laurier University, which is close to where I am here. You got Osmos on Fairway, Osmos Waterloo, blah, 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 blah. And you have all these different options here. Now, Osmos is one restaurant that serves shawarma, right? And the idea behind having something like this, never allow, go away. The idea behind having something like this, and I'm sure a developer came up with this idea, is that you can start delivering your food without going through the traditional apps like DoorDash or Uber Eats, which if I had to guess, I'm guessing this is built by DoorDash because it looks very similar. The UI here, this is probably just like a subsidiary of it. I don't know what the actual app is going to have. It's probably going to have maybe loyalty, maybe ordering, something like that. You know what I mean? But I would definitely like to look into it and do like a deep dive into what that would look like really quickly, just to satisfy my own curiosity here. Osmos app. Download the app. Okay, so let's just go on Google Play. Okay, so you can earn a free shawarma, right? Earn points for every dollar spent. Look at that, 50,000. By the way, this looks exactly 100% like the Tim Hortons app. Just putting it out there. So you got all your stuff there. Redeem your rewards. You got chicken shawarma wrap, buy a wrap, chicken on the rocks. Blah, 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 blah. You get to earn your points. Okay. Now, here's my problem with this, okay? The app only makes sense if you're buying at the store. So you're going to go to the store, you're going to buy your shawarma the way you normally do it, and then you're going to pull out your phone and scan this, go through all these points and get your free shawarma, and it's kind of like a loyalty thing, right? So it's a loyalty thing. It happens in a lot of businesses. Here's the thing, though. When you put, something like that, you make an ad and you decide to make that the focal point, that, you might have people who already come to your store downloading the app. And I'm talking about hardcore people that are very serious about coming into your store, that are going to be downloading this app to then start using every time they come into your store. So we're talking about regulars here. We're not talking about a way to bring in people. Okay. Now the reason that's very important, I really I can't stress that enough. The app will not bring new people looking for a better deal. That's not how it's going to work. It's somebody buys your food, and if they bought it once, they're not downloading the app. If they bought it twice, they're not downloading the app. You don't have to to doubt me on this, you could just think for yourself. How many times do you download an app as you go about your daily life that only serves one restaurant, one place that you've been to in your life, especially if you're new to that place, right? You would have a very hard time convincing somebody to download this app and use it unless they were committed to your store. They have to already know what they're gonna buy. Like it's almost like a regular thing where every time I come, I get the chicken shawarma. That's a known thing, right? Now here's why that's problematic. This is a Super Bowl commercial. For those of you who don't know, Super Bowl commercials are unbelievably expensive. If we check out, so Super Bowl Sunday, I believe was in February. Let me just double check. Super Bowl 2025. I was watching it. It was on Sunday, February 9th, 2025. Okay? Let me show you. 2025 advertising cost. Okay. So this is being pulled. Where's this being pulled from? I guess Statista. Oh, CBS News. All right. For the 2025 Super Bowl, these numbers make sense, by the way. A 30-second commercial spot will cost advertisers an average of $8 million. Some advertisers even paid upwards of that amount. With at least 10 spots going for over $8 million, this is an increase from the $7 million price tag for 30-second spots in the previous year's Super Bowl in 2024. So if I was to give these guys the benefit of the doubt, and I would say, let's say they gave them the 2024 prices, because us Arabs love a great discount, and they decided to sell it to them 30 seconds for $7 million. What does that look like? Well, this is a 1-minute ad, my friends. That means that this franchise has spent a minimum of $14 million for a 1-minute ad. Now, how popular was this ad? I don't know. I wasn't there physically at the Super Bowl to see how many people ran out and said, let's go get some Osmos. I don't remember there being a chant that said, let's go get some Osmos. But there is one metric that I can look into. And I don't know how many downloads of their app they got, but this is a pretty healthy way to look into it. They got 241,000 views on this one ad. 241,000 views. This was 5 months ago. 18 comments. What are the comments? My little sister in this, how much? Never enough Osmos. That's my son in the blue. People saw their friends. What song is this? I think it's an AI generated song. I don't remember LBS Band. I will give you something better. Too bad your service and food have got. Oh, this is horrible. 241,000 views. You guys want to do some creative math here? Let's say 200 and sorry, you know what? Let's do it this way. 14 million, 123 divided by how many views? 241,000. $58. $58 per view. That's how much they spent. They spent $58 per view, by the way. Okay? If this ad converted just 10% of those viewers and sent them right to the store to buy a shawarma that day, which I highly doubt, by the way. A lot of these conversions, it's less than 0.5%. I've seen a lot of click-through rates. They're not that good. And remember, you got to think of it as a funnel. So you got someone clicking through to a website and then deciding to go to your store. That's a whole other action on their part. Okay? So let's have a look at one of their wraps. Let's say everybody went in there. They bought themselves a crispy chicken, shawarma, wrap. You know, let's order here. I'm just gonna grab the price real quick. So we got $13.79. You know what? I'm going to double this amount. So let's say they bought 2. Every single person went in there and bought 2 for $58 per person. Now, like I said, they converted, let's say, 10% of these people. So they, in total, they converted, I'm giving really best case scenario here, 224,100 people converted, multiplied by, let's say, $30 per order. Okay? That's how much they probably would have made on this ad. 723,000. These are made up numbers, by the way. I want you to understand that this is not a conversion, okay? 723,000 people did not download the Osmose app. I guarantee it, off of just this ad, okay? 240,000 people or 24,000 people. They did not download this app. So I'm looking at best case scenario. If this is best case scenario we're talking about here, $723,000 made back on this ad. If I copy this number, right, I paste it here, and I divide it by the total amount spent, 14, what was that, 14 million, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, and multiply that by 100, their return on investment was 5.16% on a best case scenario. You could have put the same money in Bitcoin and made 100% in less time. I mean, it's mind-boggling, right? But that's how most of these businesses function. They think if they throw money at the problem, it fixes everything, right? And, you know, in terms of virality, in terms of how great this is, by the way, I am signed into my YouTube. If I wasn't, this For You section does not appear, which means that if I was not signed in, which some people aren't for some reason, it would just say there's no videos here. The second they see that, they logged off, right? Videos. 604,000. This is the same ad. 129 views. Hooked on the Sauce. 663,000. 695 views. Get Fried with Our Osmose. 1.2 million views. Let's have a look at this one. This one looks like it might be doing okay. Look at that. 1.2 million views. 3 comments. 2 likes. Does that make any sense? Or is it possible that whoever made this ad and put it up on YouTube was able to inflate this number, which is very easy to do, by the way? Isn't that crazy? How much do you think they spent on this ad? If they got the kind of money to spend on the Super Bowl. This is madness, dude. So you have all these terrible views, 344, inconsistent views, 3.2 thousand. That's Nelk Films, by the way. So they paid a high charging film company to make this. And I don't see any great views. I don't see anything that's tremendous. I don't see anything, even like Our Story, 90,000 views. Nima, right? This guy's a pretty famous TikToker. He got 5.7 thousand views. Nima never gets 5.7 thousand views on his personal videos, by the way. And I can prove it to you very, very easily. Before I do that, I want to just finish going through the rest of these guys' social media to show you just what I'm talking about here. So we got TikTok. Here we go, TikTok. 1,985 views. 5,661 views. This, by the way, looks like a gimmick that they're trying out there. I guess they're trying to do it like The Office. You know, it's kind of like the Arab Office. So maybe they're educating people on, you know, the ways of Arabs, the ways of shawarma, what happens behind a corporate office. Let's have a look at this real quick.
So, how is your first look at Osmose?
Oh,
I've
good.
turned off the volume
Yeah,
on purpose because I'm just going to skim
everyone's
right
been
through.
really nice.
So it looks like they
Of
hired
course,
this lady to
Osmose.
be the
Everyone is
head
nice
of
here.
social media
Yes.
marketing, I'm guessing, by her suit. This gentleman's coming in, so I'm guessing he was denied.
saying,
And
"Sorry,
they're having
Mr.
these
Mozart,
little
but you
cutaways,
can't
you know,
paint the system."
person talking to the camera. 5,000 views. 6,000 views. 1,000 views. How many followers? 3,000 followers, right? Likes, total likes 58.5 thousand. This one video right here. How many likes did that get?
Oh, good.
225, 21 comments,
really nice.
18 saves.
Of course.
Cool. All right. So let's just really dive in here. We got maybe thousands of views for all the money that we're spending on our YouTube, on our website, which is incredible, by the way, on all these beautiful pictures of the food, and we're not getting anything back. We're not getting our return. We're not getting any kind of virality. I'm not in the store specifically, but just based on this, I don't see the return on investment. This seems like a waste of money, right? And the problem with this is if somebody believed that this was a successful company, and I'm sure it is. I know they have a lot of different locations, and their food seems to be great. A lot of people seem to be enjoying it. But if you're basing the way you're going to market your company based on how this company is marketing themselves, you are wasting your time and your money. Because this is not what success looks like, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry to say it, but it does not look like this. What does success look like? I'll show you in an essence. I happen to know this because I've seen this company's social media, and I myself know what good social media looks like when I see it because, ladies and gentlemen, I used to be a brand expert and a social media marketer. I know how these things work. So I want to talk to you a little bit about Shelby's. Now, how does Shelby's Shawarma, which is a pretty new company, by the way. They haven't been around nearly as long as Osmow's. How did they come onto the scene and all of a sudden become so famous and so popular and making all these amazing waves? Well, let's have a look at their social media. Let's start with their YouTube. So, at first glance, they're treating it respectfully. Like I said, you can ignore the For You section because I'm just logged in right now. This is what you would see if you were a regular user. You would see shorts, you would see videos. Let's have a look at the videos first, and then I'll take a look at the shorts. Look at that. 17,000, 27,000, 99,000. 489,000 views, 294,000 views, 358,000 views, 1 million views. Now, the 1 million views one, I would think, is professionally produced and has a really great camera crew, right? Well, let's have a look.
Give me all your money right now! We don't have any money, it's all in Zadara. I don't believe you. There's gotta be cash here somewhere. Stop making a mess. You want the tip? Huh? The tip? You want the tip? You want food? I can feed you. Maybe I am a little hungry. Okay, my friend, I will make you a very nice shawarma bowl. How do you like it? It's really good. Got any ketchup?
What did you say? Yeah, we don't put ketchup on shawarma, ladies and gentlemen. Please do not do that, or if you do it at your own risk. That's a video that someone's recording off their phone as a skit, by the way. This guy was not famous before doing these videos. He started doing these videos. Shelby caught on and became super famous, right? They started getting all these incredible, look at that, 1.2 million views. And it's all this standard phone landscape style. So it's all being watched on the phones, right? 583,000 views. I want to just show you the TikTok before I do a little bit of a deep dive into this. Look at that, 2.4 million followers. Okay.
You're replacing Abbas.
I believe that's yeah, it is. That's Nima. Okay. Like I said, Nima doesn't make videos with less views. So this is a guy who makes he makes his own videos, and we're seeing 19.3 thousand likes, 141 comments. That is the kind of engagement we're talking about. This has been watched. I know you guys can't see this, but it says 323,000 views. Right? If you just look at Nima on his own, Nima Maz, who's absolutely hilarious, by the way. If you just look at his TikTok, He's got 688,000 followers. His views are in the 4.4 million, 1.4 million. That's who Nima is. When he associates himself with a certain company, he gets a certain number of views. With this company, he gets 324,000 views. And with Osmose, he gets, let me see, where was Nima again? I could have sworn I saw him here. Give me a second. I can't even find him. This is such a boring screen. Yeah. I almost said no offense, but I mean exactly what I say. This is terrible. Nima Maz. He's here somewhere. But it's all the same. It's all the same. 7,000, 1,400. You guys could rewind and find the spot where he was in the video where I pointed him out. 4,000 views. That's how much you get. And even when you get an influencer, nobody knows that he's on your video because your brand does not resonate with people. This silly little walking shawarma thing, whatever it is, does not resonate with people. Okay? And in a simple fashion, when I look at these guys, look, they have so many famous influencers. I recognize these people. I recognize Uncle Roger. A lot of people do. I recognize this gentleman right here. He was the former chef at the White House, I believe, during the Obama presidency, and now he's a famous influencer. I recognize a lot of these people. I recognize what's going on here. And if I click, let's say this video, it's outside the restaurant, right? And if I just fast forward, look, it's inside the restaurant. I see what's happening here. I see what they're using to make the food. I can see, this guy, he's making jokes. With Osmose, when they did their ad, you will notice that you
Wait,
cannot,
you've never tried Osmose?
other than
deal?
these first few seconds where you see the shawarma there and maybe a little bit of backdrop of the store and the front of the store, you couldn't even see the specials. There's just that. So that's what, 12 seconds out of a minute. Nothing. And then finally, you get the Osmose logo right at the end, highlighted. But you don't see the restaurant. You see a bunch of people dancing, but you don't see the specials. You don't learn anything. You have not been educated. You've been mildly entertained. Some Village People fans, whatever, man. You guys are gonna hate me because of the dance. Whatever. It's not that entertaining. You know how I know it's not that entertaining? The views and the comments speak for themselves. Your customers are not entertained enough to care, to watch the video, to like the video, to share it with their friends, or to leave you a fun little comment. Or maybe even a hateful comment. Who cares, right? That's what these guys got right. They've educated people within their own restaurant what the food looks like. Don't eat ketchup, right? It's entertaining. You got, a whole bunch of influencers, entertainers doing all these amazing videos. And, in the video we saw on YouTube with the guy hitting the dude on the head with the hot sauce or whatever that was, right? It's more entertaining. And as far as empathy goes, like I said, empathy starts when you understand what your customer wants, what they're looking for, what they look at. And these guys know what it is, right? And unfortunately, Osmose does not. And no amount of office-style episodes where, you have a bunch of Arab people together, talking about different ideas.
So what is a
look at this. This is hilarious.
Video?
She's asking them what a viral video is.
Anything. So what is a viral video? We can do a gender review.
Is anyone pregnant? No? Well, that won't work.
You know what? We can make a dance. Ta-da, ta-da. I like it.
No, I think if we're gonna do a dance, it should probably be like around a trend.
So, how is your first week on Osmose?
Oh.
I wanna laugh. I wanna laugh just because of the pain of not laughing. That was awful. And it's almost satire, right? But this is what goes on in the company. Nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody knows how to make a viral video. Okay? And it's obvious from these views, like, honestly, you do not need virality to get these views up. These are terrible views. These are terrible followers. So if that's something that you're looking for, if that's something that you're trying desperately to understand, don't even worry about it, because I'm here to help you out. Like I mentioned, I discuss this live every single Thursday. How to get your social media running, how to use ChatGPT to its fullest potential, and all you have to do is go on askdrew.eventbrite.ca, and it'll take you straight to my Eventbrite, where I have my live Fix-It sessions every single Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can get in there. Tickets are free. They're donation-based. Every little bit helps. I primarily function on coffee, so if you can send your boy a coffee, that would be fantastic. I want you to show up. Come to Ask Drew. Ask me your questions. Ask me what my credentials are if you want to know about them, right? Ask me about my history. Maybe I can tell you a story about a company that I worked with in the past, because I work with so many different companies, including owning several of my own, that you might be able to see yourself in that story and understand what to do next, right? Or you can ask me a specific question relating to ChatGPT, or how do you connect the Stripe form to your website? How do you set SMART goals and stick to them? How do you learn languages? Like I said, I'm self-taught in Spanish, and I've also learned multiple computer programming languages by myself using ChatGPT. So if you want to learn how to do that, show up to the event, ask your question live. I'll be more than happy to answer it. Like I said, it's totally free, right? And then if you decide that you wanted to pursue further actions, and you wanted to pursue building up your social media, building up your website, and getting the most out of your ChatGPT, I also do consulting sessions after and throughout the week, where I consult with you in person or over Zoom, 30 to 60 minutes, wherever you are, and we can make it happen. And I will help you figure out, and you're not getting fluff, by the way. I'm not just going to send you in the other direction and say, get on Google, read this book, do these steps. No, you get to watch a pro do it live right in front of you, and you walk away with a solution, not more problems. Okay? So, again, to recap on today's episode with Osmos Shawarma, what I want you to know, the first thing that I want you to remember is that for your social media to work, for your branding to work, remember we talked about the difference between branding and marketing, and you want to focus on your branding. You want to focus on how you're being perceived by people. You want to focus on what people think when they look at your website, when they look at your product. How do they feel about it? How did they get acquainted with it? Does it occupy a place in their mind and in their conversations that they have with their friends on a weekly or a regular basis? And then when you can nail that down, and you typically do it by speaking with your customers and having empathy, empathizing with them, right? Empathize! When you can do that successfully, you will obtain the insight. You will figure out how you're supposed to sell this stuff. And it's going to be so easy when you do that. And you're not going to have to spend all this money. So again, branding. Brand your company based on the results that you obtain from your empathy experiment, let's call it. The second thing you want to remember is that all your social media, all your advertising, all your branding, the way that you reach out to people has to satisfy one of three or all three things. Number one, it has to be entertaining. Has to be. We have very short attention spans. That's why the Super Bowl, even though it's a very long event, you only get minute spots. And most reels, I believe, are limited at a minute, but the ones that get watched, 30 seconds. So, entertain, educate, let people know, because they might not be familiar, and empathize. There we go. I got it right. Empathize. 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 Empathize or sympathize. I don't know the difference between the two, but we're running out of time. We're not going to look it up. Empathize with people and build that into your branding. Build it into your marketing. Okay? And it's not that hard. You don't have to do all this rigmarole. Like I've actually heard of the CEO of Osmos. He's a pretty young guy. I think his name is Ben Osmo. And man, you could be doing so much more than this. Believe me on this, okay? I'm sure I'm not the first person to say it, but if I am, let me be your friend. You do not need to spend money, this much money, on Super Bowl commercials. You can achieve incredible results in your business by spending a fraction of the money and just a little bit more time empathizing with people. And that's my message for you guys here today. I hope you benefited from it, and I hope you tune in to Ask Drew live at 7 p.m. Like I said, it's askdrew.eventbrite.com. Look up here, askdrew.eventbrite.ca. askdrew.eventbrite.ca. Copy and paste this into your browser windows, and hopefully I can see you next Thursday or this Thursday or whichever Thursday of your choosing. And please come prepared with questions. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you guys. Thank you so much. If you sat through the video, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and more to come. God bless every single one of you guys. Peace.